What is going on, y'all? Robert Sykes, KetoSavage.com. I got another AMA Ask Me Anything for you. This one is all about how to account for macros that you're tracking, but maybe cooking out of the meat when you're cooking it. Before we dive into that, though, let's roll the intro. All right, so this question is brought to us from Reyes. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce your name. Hopefully I didn't butcher it too bad there. But they ask, what do you do with the fat that renders out of meat while cooking? I usually cook my ground meat patties and then just throw my eggs in the rendered fat, but even then there's still some left on the pan. Any tips on cooking methods, or is it not worth worrying about it? Definitely is worth worrying about, because if you're tracking those macros, you want to make sure you're consuming those macros. Otherwise, you're not really getting an accurate picture of how your body's responding to those macros. So what I would recommend doing, obviously it's going to depend on what you're eating. If you're eating something that's super high in fats, you're probably going to have a lot more rendered fat to cook out of it than if you're eating something much leaner. But whenever I'm going through a prep, I'm tracking everything, and I'm generally doing like a 80-20 ground beef, 85-15 ground beef, and then like you said, I'll put my eggs in that rendered fat and cook my eggs in that. If you're doing something like a steak and you're putting it on the grill and that fat cooks out and just drops to the flames below, you're not counting those macros. You're not getting that food in, and you don't want that. So I don't typically do a lot of cooking on the grill with fattier cuts of meat when I'm trying to get all of my macros dialed in to the best of my ability. Sometimes you can use a macro tracker that says, you know, they'll estimate what that loss is, but I don't really like doing that either, because I weigh all my food raw and then I try and consume all of that food. Like when you cook something, you're obviously going to lose some water weight. You're going to cook out some of that fat, but with the fat, I'm trying to get that in my system and consume what I'm actually tracking. So to that end, if I'm doing like an 80-20 ground beef or something that's going to have some fat render out, I'll use my eggs, cook that in with the eggs, so that soaks up a lot of that fat, and then when the meal's done, I'll just sprinkle that on top of the food. I'll just drench it basically on top of that. One thing that I've also done, if I'm cooking something that's super high in fat and I don't want to lose those macros, is I'll pour that into like a bone broth style drink and make like a savory bone broth drink with that fat in there as well. Also, if I'm doing veggies, I'll saute all my veggies in that fat. Basically, you just don't want to lose that fat. If you're counting those macros, you want to make sure you're eating those macros, because that is how you're getting an accurate picture of how your body is responding to those tracked macros, and then you can make better adjustments for it going forward. So hopefully that answered your question there. You requested some chocolate peanut butter cup bricks, so I'm going to send some of those your way. For anybody that does not know how these AMA videos work, if you submit a question via the description below and I use your question in an AMA video, I will send you some bricks with the flavor of your choosing. Thank y'all for tuning in. Talk to you next time.